Welcome to episode 63 of Driver Seat Blog Radio. I'm your host, David G. Firestone. We're going to do a shorter episode this week because I've had an enraging last few weeks between family member arguments and having the screen on my laptop replaced. I'm not happy, and this podcast isn't going to make me any happier. This is going to be an angry rant podcast, and we're going to start with a few racing news stories. We're going to go to the clown show that is Formula One. I don't know if this is part of the newer budget limit plans or whatever it's called, or if this was in place before that all took place, but I learned recently that Formula One has a limit of 2 electronic control units, or ECUs, that can be used over the course of a season. Now, the logic of why you would have a limit of 2 for the most powerful and complex parts of a multi-million-dollar racing vehicle is a question that's best left to the best racing brains that the world has to offer, because a lot of racing fans' brains simply are not that powerful. There is no logical sense to have a limit of 2 per year for one of the most critical parts that's not an engine in your race car, especially when there's enough computer technology in these cars these days. So, at the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc went through both allotted units during the race weekend. I mean, that sucks, but it's not out of the question for a piece of equipment that complex and important. So as a direct result of this, he's suffering a 10-place drop on the grid in Bahrain. I'm not even going to get into where he started, because it's like, why would you even go out and qualify at that point? But it didn't work out well. And if I'm a Charles Leclerc fan or I'm a Ferrari fan, I'm very worried right now, because if 2 of the most important and technologically complex units of a race car failed in one weekend, and if I was Ferrari, I'd be calling the engineers, I'd have emergency plans in place. This is one of the most important teams in one of the most important racing series in the world. These are super important components. I'm really raging right now because of just how dumb this is. Super important components in multi-million-dollar race cars. For 2 separate units to fail in one racing weekend is alarming. And I think that this is going to be a very, very long year for Ferrari and their fan base. Now, it's not that I don't like Ferrari. I don't like their political bullshit. I don't like their fans. I don't like a lot of things Ferrari, but I feel bad for them right now because their season's not looking good, and it's only going to get worse from here on out. Now we have another story, and I have no sympathy for him at all, because Chase Elliott was snowboarding in Colorado and he wound up fracturing his left tibia. He had to have successful surgery which repaired the damage on March 4th. Now, when asked about the possibility of a medical waiver, Elton Sawyer, NASCAR Senior Vice President of Competition, said, "I wouldn't see any reason why you wouldn't be granted a waiver, but we'll have to go through the process to make sure we're checking all the boxes." Okay. I get that drivers have off-track hobbies, and I get that drivers, like the rest of us, need to blow off some steam sometimes. But if you're engaging in a hobby that has not only carried the potential risk of serious injury, but it could also kill you, why would you carry that potential risk when you could lose millions of dollars? You're just an idiot. And this is not like the NFL or basketball. There's no guaranteed contracts here. A lot of drivers in racing, especially even in the top national series, they don't have guaranteed money. They might be getting some from sponsors, but I guarantee you injuries could cost them that. You could hurt yourself doing dumb stuff and it could lose a lot of money. And this is not the case of being injured in a crash. That's completely different. I mean, when you're in that race car and you're a driver, you're accepting the risks. And if you get, like Kyle Busch did at Daytona a few years ago, okay, I understand that one completely. And I'm sympathetic to that to a certain degree. But this is just stupid. This is stupid. You're basically hurting yourself, and you're basically costing yourself a few races at the very least. You're probably not going to be as good as you were going to be going into the season, and that's stupid enough in and of itself. But for every Cup Series driver who has a ride, there are at least 5 or 6 other drivers who would love to take their place and who would be able to succeed in their place. Josh Berry is a very capable driver, and he's taking over for Chase for some time. Now, if Josh Berry ends up proving himself, this could be the moment he needs. Okay? I'm supportful of Josh Berry, and I don't feel bad for Chase Elliott at all. If you don't want people to think you're an idiot, don't do stupid things. If you make bad decisions, you'll deal with the consequences. And now we're seeing proof of that with Chase Elliott. I like him as a driver, but if he keeps making dumb decisions like this, could end your career. Believe me, there are a lot of athletes who were great athletes who had their careers ended through off-field or off-court or off-rink or off-track situations. But you make bad decisions, you deal with the consequences. And life is very unfair. Okay, so I'm going to do one positive story before I go into my final rant. So we have an update here. So not long ago, I discussed Ross Chastain's Martinsville wall ride and the fact that Trackhouse Racing was keeping the car intact as much as possible, which I thought was a good move. I really do think that these really historic moment cars, they should do some stuff to preserve them. And Justin Marks and Trackhouse Racing is a like-minded thinker in this respect, which I respect that. I respect that. But Martinsville apparently also is of this mind because they announced recently that they are preserving a part of the wall, and they had Chastain actually forklift it off and even autograph it. Now, I wasn't able to find any information at the time of writing and recording as to where this would be displayed. But I have a feeling it's going to be the NASCAR Hall of Fame, which I think would be absolutely perfect for. And I hope the car joins it, because that would be a great combination there. And my positivity comes to an end for the rest of this podcast, even after the break with this story. Now, it was recently announced that 2009 Formula One World Champion Jenson Button would be driving for the NASCAR Cup Series at the Circuit of Americas, Chicago, and Indianapolis. I would normally be saying that this was actually a good thing. Now, granted, I've discussed the uselessness of road course ringers because it's never worked. And if I take that back. I think I said that it hasn't worked in my lifetime, and I was born in 82, so I don't think it's really ever truly worked in that time. Certainly hasn't worked in the last 15, 20 years. But I think Jenson Button is a good driver, and I think he could be a good ticket draw too. So how do you fuck this up? Well, you have Jenson Button, talented race car driver, driving in the Cup Series for Rick Ware Racing. How could a guy like Jenson Button couldn't get a better ride than Rick Ware Racing? If you're going to drive for a Ford team, drive for frickin' Roush. Roush has 2 cars. Have a third one for Button. I would at least be willing to. I would be willing to believe he could win if he was driving for Roush. Do I think this is a good move for Jenson Button? No. Do I think it's a good move for his racing career? No. And it's literally this simple. I don't care who I tick off with this. I really don't. But Rick Ware Racing at this point is a joke. It's a joke in an organization. It's not even a funny joke. It's just a sad joke. They literally have nothing going for them at all. They're in NASCAR, they're in IndyCar, they're in IMSA, they're in the NHRA, and there's probably a few other series that I'm not aware of. And here is my question in regards to that. In all of these series, what has Rick Ware Racing accomplished as a team? Go ahead, I'll wait. Oh, that's right. Nothing. What has Rick Ware done in the last 15 years, if ever, to justify a continued existence in any form of Major League Auto Racing? Nothing. Has Rick Ware Racing ever won a race in any major auto racing series? No. So, here's my question. How do they keep getting drivers and sponsors? Because he's not being sponsored by, Johnny's, burger joint. He's getting sponsored by Mobile One. Not exactly a minor league player here. You have had numerous teams that have come and gone, that have had more success than Rick Ware Racing ever has. You have had teams that have won multiple races that no longer exist, that couldn't sustain a place in the Cup Series, never mind in 4 different series. I have been following racing for a long time. I've seen a lot of teams come and go. Some teams just aren't meant to be around for a while. Some teams aren't just meant to be in the top series. It's just how it is. But I have never seen a team consistently do less with more. You know what? No. I can't even say that. I've never seen a team do less with less in any form of auto racing, any singular form, let alone multiple forms of auto racing, that Rick Ware Racing has done. Where does he keep getting sponsors? Where does he keep getting the money for these programs? How much longer can he go on? Okay, I'm struggling to find the words as to how just baffled I am that a team that has literally no on-track successes to speak of in any form of racing that they've been in, how could they possibly justify a continued existence? Like if I was running a business and I lost money every single year and I was ranked at the bottom of my business no matter what, like if I ran a burger joint and I was one of the worst ranked burger joints in my city and people weren't eating, eventually I would see the light and I would just say, okay, this isn't working. Let's just give up. No. He's spent God knows how much on equipment, on teams, on cars. I don't even want to think about how much money he's spent. And he has nothing to show for it. Nothing. I don't even think he has a top 5. And if he does, I'm certainly not aware of it. And I understand that Rick Ware Racing does have its dedicated fans and it does have its supporters. Okay. You're telling me that this team is going to stay in NASCAR for much longer? I promise you, I'm going to make a prediction. This is not a bold prediction. When the new NASCAR TV deal comes in and there's going to be a bunch of shakeups and a bunch of teams that are selling their charters, Rick Ware Racing will no longer exist in NASCAR. Maybe they'll have success in Formula One with Clay Millican. I don't know. I don't see them doing well in IMSA or IndyCar either. I'm sorry to Rick Ware Racing fans, but Rick Ware Racing outlived its usefulness a long time ago. Their sell-by date is far beyond in the mirror. They're going to go soon, and it just is what it is. Now, if you think that I was ranting here a little angrily, you have no idea. Because we're going to take our only break of this podcast, and I'm going to discuss something that I saw on YouTube recently that just sent me into just an unbridled rage. And we'll be right back. So I'm back. Now I'm going to go on an angry rant about something that I don't think anybody would expect me to go on, but I saw this last week and this just pissed me off. It pissed me off to no friggin' end. Because I'm a YouTuber. I'm a content creator. I'm on here and I'm on my 2 other channels. And like a lot of content creators, I'm sick of the horseshit that YouTube has put their creators through in recent years. And I could bring up any number of issues, whether it be shadow banning, copyright abuse, dangerous creators, and there's like several hundred other issues I could talk about right now. But when I saw this, given the above-mentioned issues, those are child's play compared to this. Now, bit of a background. I do enjoy watching other channels devoted to whether it be plane crashes, rail crashes, or shipwrecks. And I want to make this clear. These are not shock sites or shock videos. These are actually very well-researched documentaries. For example, Brick and Mortar is one of my favorite channels. He primarily focuses on shipwrecks or maritime disasters, but they're very well-researched, they're very well put together, and they're very fascinating. And as it is for all of us on the YouTube main page, it will recommend other videos from other channels that have similar content. That's how I've actually stumbled upon some of my favorite channels in recent years. But last week, one of the channels that YouTube themselves recommended to me turned out to be state-sponsored propaganda from North Korea. Now, the video in question involved a description of the various aircraft that are currently in use in North Korea. I will not mention the name of the video, I will not mention the name of the channel that it came from, and I won't mention the other channel that I came across in researching this, because I'm not promoting these channels. I'm not promoting them. Nobody should ever watch them. In fact, if anything, everybody should block them. And I will tell you this. It's state-sponsored propaganda. That's very easy to tell. And it's very easy to tell because there is one simple trick to figuring this out. Any video or channel that utilizes DPRK in the title, whether it be the title of the video or title of the channel, is propaganda. There is no real other way to decipher it. Now, how do I know this? Well, it's actually not that difficult to figure out because North Korea is officially the DPRK, or the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea. Now, first off, North Korea is as democratic as Burger King is vegan. I don't think anybody's arguing that. Second, nobody, and I mean nobody, calls them the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or DPRK, besides themselves. They can't bring themselves to call themselves North Korea in anything that they do. So if it's DPRK, it's what they're calling themselves. If you are literally anybody else, you call them North Korea. The state ignores this little fact, and it makes their bad propaganda. I can't even say bad propaganda. It is bad propaganda, but it's easy to tell how it is. And what scares me about these propaganda videos is that there are a number of things that stand out, and these things would be complementary for a lot of channels, but they're scary here. Well, and the first thing that I noticed is that all of these videos are very well produced. I mean, this isn't kids making TikTok videos levels of quality, which you might expect from something like this. These are professionally made, professionally filmed, professionally edited. They are professionally done. And the second thing I want to announce is one of the channels has an American. Let me rephrase that. One of the channels has an announcer with an American accent who is narrating the videos, and this guy does a very convincing job in having you think he believes what he says, and that's scary too, because what that means is one of several things is going on here. Number one, they either have somebody in North Korea who is an American doing these videos, because I don't think you could fake these kinds of things. Or number two, there's somebody in this country who they've contracted with, and we'll get to that as to why that's problematic in a few minutes. And the third thing that I noticed about these propaganda videos is that the level of attention to detail is, I don't even think staggering is the word. I think it's more just they left no pebble unturned when they filmed these videos. And it's obvious what they're trying to do here, because they're obviously trying to promote North Korea as something in between a paradise and a utopia for those living within. But the other thing that they're trying to do, and this really scares me, is that they're trying to promote tourism. And I mean, you could make jokes about it, but there certainly are enough horror stories that have come out about people traveling to North Korea that, you can be forgiven for not wanting to go there. I live in Chicago, and these videos are the equivalent of the city of Chicago if they had a tourism YouTube page. Maybe they do. I'm not going to look it up right now. But it's like they were making videos to say, hey, come to Chicago. We've got the Art Institute, and we have this, and this. Oh, we've got the Museum of Science and Industry. We have Grant Park. We've got the Lincoln Park Zoo. Just all the good and fun things that you can do in Chicago, you would make a tourism video about. Well, that's what they're doing here. But the difference is everybody's figured them out already. Nobody's taking this seriously, even though they think we should. But what really enrages me here is that for some reason, this is allowed on YouTube. How is this allowed on YouTube? Hell, how is this even legal? I mean, really, it shouldn't be, and I say that because, and this is the only time I'll ever be complimentary on the guy, and this is not without merit either. Well, Executive Order number 138110 was signed by Donald Trump on September 21st, 2007. I say this is complimentary because this order was reaffirmed by Joe Biden on June 13th, 2022. And to get those two to agree on something like that That tells you how much of a piece of shit North Korea is. But the order in question allows the United States to cut from its financial system or freeze assets of any companies, businesses, organizations, or individuals trading in goods, services, or technology with North Korea. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but based on that, wouldn't YouTube allowing state-sponsored propaganda on their platform, wouldn't that be trading in services with North Korea? I mean, I can't believe it wouldn't be. And at the time of recording, there's a Supreme Court decision about, there's a Supreme Court case about, ISIS propaganda, which is apparently very much banned, but North Korean propaganda isn't. How is that legal? Explain this to me. I'm just, my mind is blowing right now, because this kind of thing, as harmful as it is, as detrimental to YouTube as it is, it's being allowed. These channels could get YouTube in a lot of trouble if certain people would start paying attention. And what makes this even worse is that I forced myself, and the word forced is actually a very apt description, because I was sick to my stomach watching all of these. If you are dumb enough to watch these videos, and I highly recommend you don't, they all feature citizens of North Korea who are clearly there at gunpoint, but they are acting as though this is how they really live. If you know anything, even like CNN level, like even Wikipedia level of North Korea, you understand that it's the worst country in terms of human rights. It's the worst country in terms of... You find anything that it's the worst of in terms of countries, North Korea is probably at or near the top. And the people are in these videos, they're enthusiastic, not because they want to be, but because they know what will happen if they're not. You can clearly see it in the videos, but you don't want to watch them. And I highly recommend you don't. Beyond that, it's not like these channels aren't well known either. In doing my research, the only reason I found one of the channels I'm talking about was I was researching the other, and the other channel got mentioned. These have been known for years. It's clear to everyone that this is obviously state-sponsored propaganda from one of the most repressive, if not the most repressive regimes in the world. And yet the YouTube powers that be are just either ignoring or downplaying the damage these videos are causing. And they're not doing anything to stop this from appearing on a regular basis on their platform. I had to re-edit a Christmas special like 2 or 3 times to edit out certain things that YouTube, the copyright gods, were angry about. Yet, repressed communist regimes is somehow allowed to have a presence on YouTube? Are you friggin' kidding me? If this is allowed to continue, certain people and certain individuals and certain groups are going to get involved, and YouTube's going to go away. YouTube has to step up and start dealing with this, or the golden goose will die. Not that YouTube isn't exactly good at keeping the golden goose alive. We've seen that over the last few fucking years. But this could seriously kill the golden goose. If you're banning certain videos that really don't have any reason to be banned, but you're allowing a repressive communist regime from uploading obviously staged propaganda videos. YouTube, it's been nice knowing you. It's been nice knowing you. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Ooh. Okay. Got it all out of my system. For now, at least. Hopefully next week will be less frustrating. Hopefully next week I'll be more positive. Hopefully next week I'll have something better than just ranting about God knows what. Hopefully I'll have something better than ranting about communist regimes and propaganda. I'm Dave Firestone. Leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next week with episode 64 of Driver Seat Blog Radio.